Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special episode and we have our very first guest on the channel. This is my cousin and he's also the first person I know to have memorized the Quran in my life. Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your memorization?
Okay, my name is Alamin. I completed my Hifz roughly almost 7 years ago. It was in 2017. It took me like roughly 8-9 years to finish, but then I was like on and off. It wasn't all consistent.
So basically he's been doing this for a very long time, mashallah, and we're going to tap into his knowledge to help answer your questions today. First question we have is, how do you currently revise your entire memorization?
I currently target just like 4 juz a day, which is approximately 80 pages a day.
80 pages a day, inshallah. So how I do it currently is I target more or less almost the same thing, because I try to read about 80 to 100 pages every day, and I also try to make sure I revise the entire Quran at least every 10 to 12 days. The next question is, how do I make sure I continue memorizing with a very busy schedule?
I mean, it comes down to priorities, so as long as you've got it in your head, you can be multitasking. For example, you can play it while you drive, you can do it while you're cooking, you can do it almost any time. So even with a busy schedule, for example, I work full time, but then I just use my work hours to do it.
Can you shed more light on reviewing? So earlier you mentioned you targeting 80 pages a day. How do you break that down within your day?
Mostly I just go straight, like the whole 80 pages at a time.
Wow, how long does that take you?
It takes me about 3 hours.
3 hours, 3 hours at a go.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. So how I do mine is I use something called spaced repetition. How I like to do it is I try to space it out across my day. So like I said earlier, the time after Fajr, the hour you have after Fajr, that's my fixed time slots for recitation. And I try to squeeze in another 30 minutes to an hour across my day. So maybe if I have 10 minutes after Zuhr, 5 minutes after Asr, 20 minutes after Maghrib, I just try to make sure that across my day, I try to make sure I hit my target. What tips would you have for a beginner starting today in terms of what to do and things not to do?
Well, things not to do, I would say quit music. That's the number one deterrent to Hifz. And then also consistency. It's better to do half a page a day every day for a year than to do 5 pages a week and then go 3 weeks without doing anything, because it would just disappear and then you would keep having to start all over again.
Consistency.
So consistency, yeah.
I want to expand on both of those. So in terms of music, for someone that listens to a lot of music right now, what advice would you give to them to kind of get off of music?
I know someone that used to listen to music a lot. Like, they used to like try and memorize music for fun. Just like you would memorize the Quran, they would sit for hours and try to memorize songs, keep playing them on repeat. So I think if you could substitute that music with Quran, I think it would be a lot easier for you to memorize as well, because I did but a lot of my memorization just by listening
in the Quran.
Yeah.
Interesting. Also, another thing I've noticed from last year when people were posting their compilations from Apple Music, so many people listen to 3,000, 4,000 hours of music. Those 3,000, 4,000 hours, you can imagine how much more you could pick up in terms of your Quran if you are listening to Quran with those same number of hours. And the second point was consistency. So what does one do to make sure he stays consistent?
I think once you remind yourself the benefits you're going to get from memorizing the Quran, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ahlul Quran are his Ahl, the people of the Quran are his family. And then also what would happen on Qiyamah when those that have memorized the Quran would be told, Iqra waratil kama kunta turatilu fi dunya, which means, and just keep reciting and until you get to where your memorization stops, and that is your level in Jannah. And then also the benefit it brings to the parents of the memorizers, the crowns on the Qiyamah.
So for anyone that might be watching this, I think all of us have a priority to try to please our parents in the best way we can. And I think there is nothing that you can give them that's going to be more beneficial and more fulfilling to them than that crown that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but I think more so you're doing it more for yourself than for them as well. Because, I mean, you've got to come first, but then it's just an added advantage, kind of, to motivate you.
Definitely. This one's a bit more personal. We know the benefits of memorizing. What are the benefits that you have personally experienced the most?
I think my life's gotten a lot easier in the sense that, you know, Allah is with you. So just imagine a scenario where I want to give my gold to someone to keep for me, something I treasure a lot. Who would I give it to? I wouldn't give it to someone I don't like or I don't trust. So just imagine that with Allah and the Quran. So a person was the Quran. And that, you know, the Quran was revealed on Laylatul Qadr, that made it the best night. It was revealed to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, made him the greatest of our prophets. It was given to us as an ummah. It made us the best of ummah.
The angel that delivered it as well.
Yeah, as well. So once you get given that, you know, okay, yeah, Allah loves you and He wants to give you, you know, the best of both worlds. So once you know that, I think it kind of makes you, okay, Allah has given me this. I wouldn't want to disappoint Him. You know, I would want to be thankful. I think that makes you want to, you know, kind of repay. Of course, you can't repay back. You can, but then you would want to make an effort here. Basically.
For me, I've never discussed this with someone else that has memorized the Quran, but I always tell people the biggest benefits of memorization are not things that you can tell. They're things that you just have to experience. I just have a feeling of constant peace internally. I'm always at ease and I always feel relaxed internally. And I think that's something that comes from my memorization journey as a whole. And the second biggest thing I would say for me is the attachment it's given me to the Quran. If I go extended periods of time without reading the Quran, I feel misaligned, if that makes sense. I think the thing that people are struggling with the most is the fact that they memorize and they forget. So what assurance or what comfort can you give to the people to help them keep going?
I mean, it happens to everyone. But again, you just have to keep going, try being as consistent as you can. Because it disappears very quickly, very, very, very quickly, and it happens to all of us. Even the best of us, you know, you could imagine Shuraim failing to read the beginning of Baqarah in Taraweeh. Literally the beginning of Baqarah, he had to be corrected like 5 times, I think. So I think just try your best, be consistent, and keep your intentions clean as well.
I think just to add to that, I think you can try thinking of it like going to the gym. You can't go to the gym once, twice, and expect to come back buff the next day. It's something that it's a gradual process and it takes time. So as long as you stay on that path, inshallah, it only gets easier. And the second thing I want you to understand is there's a huge difference between your short-term memory and your long-term memory. You probably have never been scared to recite Surah Al-Fatiha or Surah Al-Nas. This is because these are surahs that are already in your long-term memory. So what happens with your new memorization is they're mostly all in your short-term memory, so you're more likely to always stutter and forget them. But then the only thing that transfers them from that short-term to long-term is repetition. Repetition over long periods of time. If you think you're struggling with any area in the Quran right now, imagine you staying consistent over a period of 10 years, 15 years. You wouldn't be struggling the same way if you just stay consistent and keep at it. Anything to add to that?
No, I think so.
How does one decide where to start from? If you were starting your memorization today, would you start from Baqarah going down or from Nas going upwards, and why?
Because it's actually maybe the same thing, but then I started from Baqarah and I think I would start from Baqarah again. Because I think once you're used to the longer surahs, once you get down, it kind of gets easier. Because also there's a lot of repetitions. Because you know you're used to all the words, so you wouldn't be learning many new words. Yeah.
I see. Well, personally, I also believe I would start from Baqarah as well, mainly because it's the largest surah in the Quran. So mentally, if you know that you've been able to finish Baqarah, there's no other surah that would intimidate you. And also for the people that want to start from down going upwards, which is from Nas, I believe the advantage it gives you is that you get a quick feeling of progression because the surahs are very short. So it makes you feel like you're moving forward, and for some people, that's what motivates them. So honestly, it just depends on what you want. So personally, I think for both of us, we'd recommend just going from Baqarah.